on this computer. There we go. So thank you very much for joining this evening and taking some time out of your beautiful evenings to join us for this talk, which I know is going to be really, really good. It's been a while since we had a guest at Epoch for one of our talks, and I can't think of a better guest to help you with your journeys at the moment than Jason. Jason is a really well-renowned PT in Lincoln. If you don't know him already, he's got a fantastic gym, Kinetic Performance, which is not far from Epoch for those of you who are looking for a gym or those of you who are going to move from your current gyms because it's better. I've been a member at that gym for a long time. Jason helps me with my PTs, helps me keep accountable to strengthen my body. Yes, I'm a chiropractor. I had one of you who is on the call ask me this week, Tom, why do you need a PT? And I said, well, I'm pretty good at adjusting spines, but sometimes I need a professional to help me out too. So, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Jason, let him just sort of introduce himself. He's got a talk for this evening, which is brilliant. And then we'll do some Q&As at the end. So, if I can just ask that for the talk, we stay muted, but please, if you can, turn your cameras on. If you want to ask questions, put them in the chat box. I'll keep an eye on those. And then we'll open up for questions at the end. So, Jason, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate you
Thank
giving
you.
your time.
Thank you. Well, evening, everybody. My name's Jason, as Tom's introduced you to. I'll give you a little bit about my background first and why kind of like, I suppose, chiropractic care is linked into myself as well. I did a sport and exercise science degree. Originally was going to be a sport and exercise science lecturer, but that job kind of went by the wayside as my mate got me a job at a gym while I was waiting for the job to appear. And then basically the rest is kind of history. Worked in a commercial gym for about 12 years, was a PT manager, PT mentor, then I kind of like mentored regional for a company called Fitness Agents. And then decided that I'd just take the plunge and create my own facility where I could stop being frustrated with the way commercial gyms kind of work and run with regards to the way they, number one, look after the gym and the members. Number two, the way they looked after the personal trainers. So we're now 7 years later with Kinetic. It's growing. It's a slightly different gym than other gyms, as Tom will probably vouch for as well. So we go for kind of like a limited user in there to make sure it's always quiet in there. So for those that may be a little bit anxious and nervous over gyms, then they can feel at home that they haven't got 100 eyes watching them. So it works really well. We'll talk a little bit more about it later. I specialised on my degree on biomechanics and sports psychology and psychology as well. And also when I was younger, I bust my collarbone quite badly when I was about 12 years old. And that led to me having a bit of a drop shoulder, which then obviously, when I first started doing any kind of training, led to a few injuries in my rotator cuff, in my upper chest. And I kind of wanted to figure out why. And so I started to do the biomechanics on my foundation degree and then my main degree. I could kind of figure out what was going on. It really started to intrigue me on kind of like how the human body works and how you can manipulate it. So obviously this evening's talk is kind of like how we can link your kind of chiropractic care and kind of like carry your journey on with using either a bit of weight training or the way we look at things. Again, it tends to be things like, as we'll go through the presentation, like your posture, maybe the way you sit, the jobs that you do, the way we hold ourselves. It might be just things from the past that affect us. And obviously, what we need to remember is that the muscles and the bones, they work in unison with each other. One will not function without the other. And therefore it's important that we look after our muscles as well. So again, you'll have a chance to ask a few questions a little bit later on. I'm going to click the PowerPoint presentation on. I'll get you maybe doing things a little bit more active as well as we go through it, to show you a few postural things that you can maybe do at home that you don't necessarily need a gym for, to help correct the kind of things we're looking at as we go through the presentation. So I'll come in and out of the presentation a little bit as I go through. So I will just share my screen with you now. So we'll just click the show to go. And I'll take, there we go, straight away. This time didn't work. Good. Right then, so that's all me. We don't need to see that again. Okay, don't worry, we've got you back. There we go, straight away, having a bit of fun. So, why is spinal health important to begin with? Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you the questions and get you to all answer. So it functions in almost all movements. The spine is either linked from your spinal cord, or you've got a lot of muscles, that connect to that. It protects the most important nerve in the body, which obviously without that nerve, you're not going to be moving anywhere. So again, it's very important for spinal health and also to protect that area with the musculature that you've got. Okay. If you didn't know, it's actually somewhere where the blood cell production and immune cell productions are actually stored. So a lot of the immune cells that you have are actually stored in cells around the spine. Okay. And obviously then we're going to go into more of why are our muscles important to spinal health. Our spines are connected to, has anyone got an idea of how many muscles? Okay, 10, 20, 30? No, it's not. It's actually connected to, in some formal way, over 100 muscles in the body. Okay, so from that point of view, you can kind of see how synergistic the relationship is, as I've put on the slide there, is with the muscles and the bones in the body. Because our muscles attach to our bones, which then help keep each other in place, and they're going to allow our bodies to move. So at the end of the day, the muscles need tendon and ligament attachments, which go across joints, which allow them to move. And without those muscles, then the bones aren't going to move. And without the bones, the muscles are going to form no rigidity and have no lines in which to move in. Okay, so therefore that's a little bit of that. So therefore, strong bones and muscles are required in the body to complement each other. Okay. So how do our muscles affect our spine? So obviously you go and see the chiropractors at Epoch, and they obviously give you adjustments. But one thing that will happen, obviously, is day-to-day life. Okay, so this is probably actually very similar to how I would sit, not exaggerating, on a laptop if I'm at a desk. I'll be honest about it. Okay, so again, we're getting here. Hope you can see the mouse on the screen, so we can see we're nowhere near. You'll have all seen when you've had your assessments at Epoch, and the kind of like the spinal alignment, and when you've got the kind of like portrait, the pictures of how you're standing and how your spine sits. So obviously, this is negative to getting us into that neutral spine position. Okay, so yes, the adjustments and things are going to help. They're going to help obviously reduce your head weight, which is obviously going to pull on your neck. It can, potentially give you headaches and affect your lower back. But why does that kind of like affect your lower back? So this is what we're going to try to look at, how we can combat this sort of thing. Because what we've got to remember as well, this maybe isn't straining ourselves. It's repetitively put us in a low intensity position, which our bodies get comfortable in. So therefore, our bodies will naturally want to hunch over into that position when we sit down. Maybe when you're sat there now, looking at the screen, how is your posture? Is it upright? For example, when I'm on a laptop, I try to sit on a little beanbag stool to make myself sit a bit more neutrally. Okay. So what we're going to have a look at here is what this does. So this is what this posture is here, and if we were to stand up and we were kind of like a little bit rounded, it's what I would know in kind of like the biomechanical terms as upper cross syndrome. Okay. And obviously what's going on is there are certain tight or hypertonic, what's called known as hypertonic, but we'll just call them tight and weak for today. Okay. Muscles in the body that are pulling on the skeleton, on the spine, which are affecting the position in which you sit. Okay, so if we are in that kind of like, and again, hope you can see the cursor, if we're on this kind of like upper cross posture here, what's going to be tight is going to be the back of our necks. Okay, so the upper trapezius, the levator scapular muscles, and the kind of the muscles which sit in between that are tight. Okay, at the top. Okay, but what will be weak, okay, is interesting, which is a little bit lower down. So obviously, as we go through that kind of like curve in the back, okay, the lower traps are going to be weak. Now, by weak, that what happens then is they're going to be stretched. So if you were to put your arm out straight and I put some resistance on it, if I asked you to curl your arm in, that would be very difficult for you to do. If I allowed you to bend it and shorten the muscle, it would be a lot easier. Okay, so therefore, these weaker muscles here, because they're in a stretched position already, they're not able to kind of assist with the posture. And they're actually, the lower traps are some of the most important postural muscles in the body with regards to keeping yourself upright and keeping the head upright. So what tends to happen is most people's upper traps build. because when we're sat like this all day, or when we've got like this forward head posture going on, obviously your head's weighing more, but instead of our heads just dropping straight down, something's got to hold that up. So these are going to be your upper traps, and they're kind of like triangles, two triangles in the body, okay, in the upper back, and they're bigger at the top and they're narrow at the bottom. So unfortunately, the lower traps have already got a harder job to do, because the upper traps are always going to be bigger. Okay, so therefore we've got to somehow look at ways to balance this out. What also happens when the shoulder does drop, obviously the trap kind of gets a bit bigger, it pushes the head forward, so it rounds the shoulder forward as well, as you can see in the diagram. Okay, so as you can see in the diagram, then what's going to happen there is that the upper chest is going to get tight. The sternocleidomastoid muscles, which are at the base of your neck, so they're going to pull down as well. So it'd be interesting to see, if you all put your head straight up, how many of you actually feel any kind of tightness down here, or if it actually changes the pitch of your voice, okay, when you talk, because again, that's showing that you've got tight sternocleidomastoid muscles as well. Okay, so again, looking at ways in which we can combat that from day-to-day life and manipulate and push you back around again, okay, is something that can help. And it doesn't, whilst yes, the gym is going to help you, loaded exercise is going to help you put yourself in positions, as we'll see, it's not always the right thing to do, okay, as we'll work through this a little bit. So what we're going to try to do is give you things to do which allow you to keep more neutral. That's going to obviously then allow the muscles going to then hold your spine more in place, because you're no longer forward head postured, you're going to be much more upright, you're going to be much more neutral in how you do things, okay? So we go on to the next ones. As I said, resistance exercises can help, but, okay, so this is what we call that pull down. It's using one of our mag bar attachments in the gym. Okay, now if we've obviously want to work the lower back down here, okay, so pulling vertically from high to low, you would think is going to be a good thing, because obviously we're going to make these lats, and obviously if I go into the mirror picture here, these upper traps here, we're going to make those pinch down to the back. Okay, but what I want you to do on the first video is just watch what happens to someone who is extremely kind of like in this upper cross posture where the head is forward tilted as they pull down. So I've kind of simulated, I've exaggerated it a little bit as I pull down. Okay, so I'll play it a couple of times. So you'll kind of see, I'll try to pause it on the bottom of one. Okay, oh no, I didn't want to do that. There we go, hang on, go back. Go back a slide. There we go. And again, there we go. So from there, what you can see, actually that's pausing at exactly the right place. You can see that the shoulder blades here have started to lift, the head started to drop, my shoulders have started to come forwards. Okay, so I'm actually negating this effect. I'm actually training these muscles up here, and I'm not even touching anything down the side here. Okay, so therefore, without having the correct kind of instruction and the correct kind of technique and posture on this exercise, I'm actually encouraging my body to kind of go into forward posture. And for those of you who do go to the gym, then maybe have a little think about it next time you do it. If you can get a mirror or even film yourself doing a set like I've done here, okay, it is a good idea. So we then go into, as you can see, probably more rounded on that one. Okay, just let it play again. There we go. So that's much more, and again, rounded on that last one. So if we go ahead once, so this is how we want to set ourselves up a little bit more. So a lot more neutral, you can see. So I've leant back a little bit. I've tried to put my body into a position where it allows me to shorten the upper back muscles and shorten the lower back muscles at the same time. I'm trying to lift my chin. So again, I'm stretching out those sternocleidomastoid muscles at the front. I'm opening my elbows out so that my upper chest, which is going to pull me forward, again, is going to be quite tight in there. Okay. So again, as you can see, I'm now pulling it down into an area which is my upper chest. But as you can see, it's now starting to, if we pause at the bottom, I'm now starting to keep these shoulders down. So these traps are coming down. My head is much more neutral in relation to my body. Okay, my chest is forward and my shoulders are back. So therefore, I'm starting to encourage myself to train in a way and overload myself in a way which is more neutral to posture. Okay, and against maybe this the kind of like forward upper cross posture that we saw, or the head tilt. So this sort of exercise in the gym is going to help you kind of release the muscles which are tight in the upper back. It's going to help tighten your lats up, your lower lats and your lower traps up, which is then going to help with regards to the way your weight of your head feels on your spine. Okay, and therefore bring those muscles round into a much more kind of like better and more optimal position. Okay, just let that one finish off, and I'll quit, and I'll go around to the next one. Okay, so again, just drawing down neutrally. Okay, so another one in the gym. So basically, already you can see there in this picture, I'm actually in an upper cross position already. I'm already forward head tilted, and I am obviously rounded on the upper back. I've got my lower back is stretched out, so obviously immediately I'm going to start putting load in my lower back. Okay, so again, if we just let this one play, okay, and you can see at the back, get it in the right one. There we go. There you can see my head's dropped. My shoulders are moving forwards. My upper neck again is my lower neck, sorry, is rounded with my upper back. Okay, all this is all stretched out through here, which is the postural area that I need to really control when I'm doing this exercise. Okay, and then also we've got the chest, which is shortened because my shoulders move forward on there. Okay, so again, what you've got to again be careful of with something like this is that we're again in the correct position. And again, that's a really bad example of how to do a row in the gym. And some of you may have in your gyms, if you're obviously not kinetic, may have like a chest supported row or a free cable row like that. What we want to be trying to do with posture, you can see immediately I'm more neutral. And then when I pull back, there we go. So that is exactly what we wanted to achieve. We're wanting to get the shoulder back. We wanted to get the chest open. We wanted to get the head nice and neutral. We've got a slightly extended curve of the lower back, but more to neutral spine. But that's going to allow us to shorten our lower traps. Okay, in this kind of exercise. So again, that's again a good one that we can do. So obviously you don't all go to a gym. So what I'm going to do now is get you to, and again, by all means have a go, and I'll show you a few exercises. I'm just going to end the show for a second. So you can hopefully just, if I stop screen sharing this one, so I'm more on the main screen. Okay, so what we can do at home to combat this is obviously try to do a few things which can help as well. So it's all about working against the way you would be in this kind of position. And again, allowing the muscles to kind of protect and control the spine in such a way that it allows the head to lift, okay, much more neutrally. So there are a few basic ones that you can do. All right, hopefully that'll be about right. By all means, have a go if you want to get on the floor and have a little go. But a few of the easiest ones to do is we can use the shoulder blades very, very effectively when we're trying to set the muscles correctly. So one of the most basic ones you can do is to keep your elbow in line with your shoulder. Okay, try to keep your elbow about 90 degrees. I'll do it facing you in a second, with my head facing you in a second, so you can kind of see both ways. Hands fairly neutral, and then we just rotate the hands to the floor. Okay, now what that's doing, that's tucking your shoulder blades into your back slightly. Now you won't necessarily all get that range, which is fine. You obviously work to the range where you feel you can, and then you just gradually over time improve that range. Okay, so if I was to do that behind you, I'm still there, that's fine. So 90 degrees like that, and then we're just going to rotate our hands flat to the floor and come back again. And again, when some of you try that, because of the way maybe you're posturally sat, that won't necessarily go. But again, just work your way through as you go through that. Another one you can do is what we call a floor ranger with the hands. Okay, so this time what we're going to do is put the hands, try to get the hands as low as we can, and then keeping that angle and the hands as close to the floor or on the floor if you can get there. Keeping the elbow angle the same, is rotating the hands together above the head and squeezing down. Now what that's doing, that's actually teaching a motor pattern to the upper traps that they can squeeze together rather than come over the top of your body. Now, again, if you're a little bit reduced in range, then you're just going to work that range where you feel you can do, keeping the elbows down to begin with and keeping them down. Okay, you can do it with neutral hands as well, which again, obviously, if you are a little bit tighter, because all you're doing there, you're in a nice neutral position on the floor, your feet are up. So again, you've got the natural curve in the spine, 2 fingers width at the bottom, and then your shoulder blades are tucked into the floor. So again, you're in a relaxed position, your head weight's not going to weigh anything. We know the chest is relaxed. And what this also does, if we think about what we're doing with the shoulder blade, is it actually opens your chest out naturally. Okay, so therefore you're already getting that chest stretch in the exercise. So it's doing 2 jobs at once. It's not only is it pulling your shoulder blades and therefore your upper traps together and pulling them down your back and using your lower traps to kind of like set the body, but it's also opening out the chest. Your sternocleidomastoid muscles aren't no longer down here so they can't pull you down because your head's relaxed back. You can even lift the chin as well. So again, that sort of a thing is gonna kind of help you. Okay. Another one you can do is a simple shoulder set. Okay. So for this one, you just come on your hands and knees with your hips slightly dropped. Okay. Hands are around about just outside of hip width. Okay. I'm going to lock my arms out. I'm going to try to keep my head neutrally aligned with my back. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my shoulder blades together, keeping my elbows straight. And I'm going to push back up again. And again, you can do this on varying heights. You might do it on you might find it easier to do it on a sofa, so you've got a little bit less body weight in your hands. You do it on your knees. Okay. And by doing that, again, what you're doing is you're depressing the shoulder blades into your back. It's going to, if I do that more neutrally onto you guys. So again, from there, I'm locked in and I drop. I push up again. So again, I'm putting my body into the wrong position, but I'm educating it into the right position. Okay. So then therefore those muscles and the spine kind of come a little bit more neutral to the way you want the shoulder blades to go. Okay. So that is the upper cross. What we'll have a little look at, I'll just go back to my slide again. Shouldn't we on that one? There we go. So reshare the screen. Yeah, there we go. Right. Slideshow. Play from current slide. No, we've done that one. Done that one. Done that one. Done that one. This one. So, does this mean we cannot train the tight muscles? Okay, so this is another thing. Oh no, my chest and my neck are tight. So therefore, I shouldn't train those because again, if we train a muscle, unless we stretch it back, it gets shorter. Okay, that's what happens with the body. That's what when we're sat in that kind of like forward posture. That's what's going on. So with that picture of me sat at the desk where I'm sat leant over my laptop, that's me training my body in effect because I'm putting it in a position constantly. Therefore, it gets used to it. Okay. So therefore, should I train my chest? Okay. So if I was to do it without thinking about technique, you can see. I'll stop on the next one because it's a better rep. There we go. So that there, if we look at that there, my shoulders are lifted, my traps are starting to kick in, my head's forward, so I'm trying to ego myself out in the mirror and see what I look like in the mirror. Okay, and my chest, and you can see more in here. My sternum, my clastoid muscles are all shortened, so therefore and my traps are again lifted, and my lower traps are stretched. Okay, so could I be training that? Actually, yes, I should be. Okay, so what I should be trying to do is what the next video will show is I should be putting myself into a more neutral position, putting my head down, retracting my shoulder blades, my chest, even though I'm pressing and shortening my chest muscles, everything here is actually open because I'm keeping control of the shoulder. And that's where it finishes on that video. It's quite a rep actually. Little gap at the top. Okay. Again, you can see that I've got, again, more here. You can see my chest is lifted. So therefore, I'm going to have a more natural curve in my spine. So then I'm engaging, my lower traps having to engage. Okay, and pull back. My head is neutral. Okay, so I'm pressing through, again, I'm looking through the gap, but I'm still exercising my chest. So you can still train those muscles, but you want to do them in a way which is encouraging them to put them back into the place they go. So again, that exercise that I just showed you, for example, on the floor, where you are just locking your arms straight out and you're letting the shoulder blades drop. Again, you are actually using your chest when you do that, but you're teaching it that it can work out in an open position. Okay, or the one where you're doing either the floor angels or the rotators with the hands, where we put the elbows down and rotate the hands back. Again, that's showing you more that your body can work in those positions open without having to tighten them up. Because again, otherwise, what happens is everyone gets in a conundrum and they start thinking, well, I can't. You do that, it's going to encourage this to happen and that to happen. But again, that's kind of like the art of where getting your training program sorted comes in. Okay. So a quick look at lower body. Okay. So that cross happens again, the same in the lower body as well. All right. So if we are again, there are obviously a few different types of kind of like backers. You've got your kyphosis, your lordosis, your scoliosis, and things like that. So again, this one's focusing more on a kind of like a lordotic, which is quite a common thing, okay, with people, or where the like it feels like your lower back hurts. Okay, so lower spine hurts sometimes, and again, you'll go in. Someone will probably manipulate you, or one of the chiropractors will manipulate you back. It feels nice, but then after a little while, it comes back again. So what we could be looking at here is a case of this, which is lower cross syndrome. So that is where your lower back muscles, obviously the erector spinae, which sit either side of your spine, and the what we call the multifidus strands, okay, which again are kind of like little strand muscles which go into the top of into the back of the pelvis. They are probably tight, so they're in effect pulling your hip that way, okay, up where my cursor is going, okay. And whereas the glutes, or your bum, is quite weak. Okay, so you've got a weak bum. Okay, so what that's doing, because they're stretching, that's allowing the back of the pelvis to rotate upwards, okay, towards your neck, which then creates compression, okay, on the lower back. It also then encourages the head to go forward as well, because the body's got a balance. Okay, so again, it has an effect. So most people who are upper crossed with their posture are usually lower crossed as well. And it's a combination of the two which helps sort this out. So the hip flexors at the front are going to be tight, because what you've got to think about is the balance in the hips. So you've got this cross, obviously the line going across the hips. So you're going to have a tight lower back and then tight hip flexors at the front. So the muscles that sit at the very top of your thighs and attached to your hips, they're going to be pulling down on the front of the hips. So they're working with the back of the hips, which are being pulled up, and they're being pulled down. Weak abdominals, or particularly more than anything lower abs. So, for example, females who have C-sections or get split abdominals during pregnancy, when you end up going into this kind of like your hips drop and you get lower back pain, this is usually because your abdominals are weak. And again, there's certain things you can do to help rectify that. But again, it's because the hip flexors are a large muscle, they're pulling down on the front of the hip. So again, it's about what can we do in order to try to counteract that. Okay, and again, I'll show you a few little floor examples in a minute. But one of the things you can do, you can replicate this one at home, is a simple hip flexor stretch in this lower cross posture, which is going to affect your lower back. Okay, it is predominantly the hip flexor down here, which is what I'm stretching with my left leg, as you can see in the picture, which is causing the majority of the problem. And 9 times out of 10, if you do have a bit of lower back pain and you activate this stretch, it will help alleviate some of the pain, okay, that you're getting. And the key thing to do with this that a lot of people don't do when they're in this kind of a stretch, you can simulate this on a sofa. For example, you could do this kneeling down on a sofa with your knee on the floor and your foot on the back of the sofa, or you might even do it with your knee on the cushion, okay, which I'll show you in a minute, okay, and your foot up the back of the sofa. But the key thing with this, to really make this stretch effective, is to actually squeeze your glute, squeeze your bum cheek on the side you're stretching. Because what that's doing, that's activating this glute here. So it's actually starting to pull down as this is being stretched up. Okay, and obviously I'm trying to keep as neutral as I kind of can. And what this can look like in a gym environment, when I see this and I'm assessing people, is I see that the hips either flatten with the back, or the back will kind of round a little bit, and you can see that an over excessive arch where the hips are staying back. So like there, you can see that I'm creating this problem. The hips are shortened, my knees are slightly bent even. Okay, my head's gone forward, as you can see. All right, yes, my shoulders are reasonably neutral, but again, I've got this big over-exaggerated curve in the back, which is encouraging this lower cross posture. Okay. And then you can also get a weakness here then, because again, the back's not coming up, obviously you end up rounding down, and that again puts more strain into the lower back. Okay, what we want to be trying to do, okay, is bring the hips more through. So at the top, we're coming through more, we're a lot more neutral, the curve's more natural, the shoulder blades allow us to come down, and the front of the leg is stretched. So just something simple, such as bending down and touching, you don't even need a bar to do this kind of an exercise. What this exercise actually is for, a deadlift, is mainly in the fashion that I'm demoing you in at the moment, is for your glutes, is for your bum. Okay, and again, I'll show you a little bit in a second how you can kind of do that at home as well. All right. And again, little things like that will help, because at the end of the day, you're battling posture. So again, I'll just end it, and then stop sharing so you can see me again. Okay. So as I said, hip flexor stretch is dead easy one to do. Okay, if you've got a sofa or anything, then again, I'll get rid of my mug for now. So again, just foot up the sofa, leg forward. I'm going to push that hip through. I'm going to be nice and neutral with my upper body. But the big thing is I'm going to try to squeeze this glute. And what that will do, that will create a lot more tension. You'll be surprised at how much tension it creates and how much more stretch it does just by simply tensing that glute through. And again, that's putting your pelvis into more of a neutral alignment. So if you are someone that's more kind of like that, so more of an arch through it, again, by releasing this and squeezing that down, it's going to bring you a lot more neutral. Okay. Other things that we can do, obviously, the other one that was weak, remember, was your lower stomach. Okay, and everyone thinks, oh yeah, I'll get on the floor and I'll start doing some crunches and stuff. But again, the problem is if you've got weak lower abs, then you tend to already be overly stretched. And we talked about how a stretched muscle is very weak. So we need to put you into a more neutral position. So again, if you are suffering with lower back pain, then again, something like this can help. Okay, so again, all you're going to do is imagine someone's poking you in the belly button. You're going to draw your belly button down away from your finger. You're then going to just squeeze your pelvic floor on. Okay, just a little bit. Okay, arms by your side. And then either if you're very weak in the lower back, you would just do simply one leg at a time, just rolling in. And your focus is to try to keep the belly button draw down. Okay, whilst you're bringing that in. And obviously then again, what we can get is both legs at the same time. But again, what you often find with people, so if I move you can just about see my lower back there, I think, on there. So if I just pull my t-shirt tight, so what you tend to get when people do this one, if they are weak, is they roll over like this and you create almost this massive gap. And what that's actually doing now is when I do the movement, is I'm actually using the muscle, which is actually tight in the body. Okay, the hip flexor to actually bring my leg up. So I'm actually defeating the purpose of it, which is why sometimes just simply doing it with your arms down or even one leg at a time alternately is actually going to help. Okay, with help with setting that. And again, it's kind of like a draw in the lower stomach that you're after with these. Okay, you can advance those again by going up. So if you get stronger at them, so again, you can advance them by going out with an arm on the same side. Okay, and again, everyone thinks that kind of like abdominal activation and a lot of exercise in the gym are very focused, not very focused that anyone can go and do them. That's right, anyone can go and do a crunch, anyone can go but it's about whether or not you're activating the right muscles. And for those of you that do have weaknesses in the spine, then it's critical that you do kind of get those in, okay, and be shown how to do them properly. So we'll go back to the slideshow. Play from current slide. There we go. Done that one. So we figured out tight and lower body. So we go for them. So nutrition and spinal health. Okay. I'm just going to go over some basics. I'll talk about kind of basic macro splits and stuff, which again, we don't necessarily need to go over on this one, but that's more kind of in depth. Okay. First thing you're going to need, obviously, calcium is the building block of your bones. So they're going to come from things like leafy greens, fish, all sorts of beans, nuts, seeds, and dairy products. Okay, they're the key ones. Obviously, protein is also very important, which I haven't put on this slide. But the kind of like the soft tissue, which sits in between each vertebrae, that is built from amino. Okay, so amino acids, which comes from protein. Okay, so obviously decent protein sources, lean meats, fish. Things like that. Again, a lot of dairy products and stuff. You're looking at, obviously, if you're vegetarian, looking at the vegetarian options, which would go down with that one as well. Vitamin D actually helps with the absorption of calcium. Okay, so without this won't necessarily be absorbed by the body. Okay, so again, in fish, egg yolks, and obviously sunlight, or you can supplement vitamin D. Okay. 4 to 6,000 IUs is recommended. Okay, magnesium. So then again, we're building this kind of like absorption route going up. Magnesium is quite important because that actually helps with so while vitamin D would help with the absorption of calcium into the body, okay, for the absorption of calcium to go into the bone from the blood. So again, as we want the calcium to go in there to avoid things like osteoporosis. If we've got any degeneration in there, we're going to want to keep those calcium deposits up nice and high in the bones to try to reduce the effect of that as much as we can. So again, magnesium is quite important. Again, you can supplement it, or you can get it from seeds, brown rice, nuts, spinach, and pumpkin. They're the main sources that I would recommend. Okay, for those. And K2. Okay, it's actually really good for immune health. Okay, but low vitamin. There are a few studies out there which found that low vitamin K, okay, are found in those with osteoporosis. Okay. So again, vitamin K2 it's quite an important one to get hold of. So again, cheeses like brie, a lot of fermented foods carry this. Okay, meat, poultry, and eggs are your main sources of where you're going to get K2 from. You can get vitamin D and K2 combined normally in a supplement form, which is a good one to take. Okay, and obviously this helps this process, and it's definitely good for kind of like spinal health, okay, and also the absorption process. Because it's all right thinking, oh yeah, I'm eating the calcium bits, but again, if you're not completing the chain, then it's not going to be absorbed to its kind of like maximum level that it can be. Okay. Obviously, obesity and spinal health is a big thing. Higher body weight is linked to lower range of movement. That's what ROM stands for, range of movement in the lower back. So that's going to affect your spine health. You're going to be putting more load through the pelvis. Okay, you're going to be putting more what we call ground reaction force through the ground. So therefore, looking after our body weight is quite key. And again, potentially overloading the lower back and damaging the discs through overloading them a little bit. Which then, obviously, will lead back to those diagrams we did earlier, the upper and lower cross posture ones. Okay, so the hips are going to move back a little bit because the hip flexors will get tight because we're in a more seated position. If you think you're sat down now, again, you're exactly in that position, which encourages a lower cross posture. So we're short on the thighs, so our hip flexors are short. Okay, we are long on the glutes because, again, our knees are in front of our body, so therefore we're stretching the glutes. So again, we've got to make sure we're doing things that counterbalance these kind of things. And therefore, it is a combination of a healthy diet with exercise, not only for spinal health and mobility, but also achieve a healthy body weight. Okay, and they're obviously, you know, when you're keeping a healthier body weight, you're going to be able to move more, you're going to be able to do things more, things feel less effort, your body works better. Okay, how to achieve this? Obviously, you come and see us lot down at Kinetic, okay, where we guide you through everything that we do. We train people, we make sure that they're moving right. As you can see here, Soph's coaching Selena in the correct movement, just for a simple tricep extension, making sure her shoulder stays back so she's not encouraging herself to go rounded. Okay, so again, it's just about making sure that kind of like environment that you have, and making sure the techniques that you're doing are really doing the right job, and they're not doing any further damage, because that's the last thing that we want to do for you. And that's why all the trainers down there will explain everything to you, if that's something that you want to do. So what are we? Again, I've already said to you already, we're a limited members gym. We're focused experience because it's mainly personal training that we do. We bespokely program for each person. We don't have there is no magic program one fits all. There is no magic diet that one fits all. We do everything individually because that's how we get the results, and that's how we make sure we don't injure you. And again, we help you understand the science behind training and nutrition. So I always like to give people an understanding as to why they're doing something, what they've got to do, where it's going to take them, and the reasonings and a little bit of the science behind that. So yeah, so floor's open. That's pretty much the presentation. So the floor is open to any questions if there are any.
Jason, thank you very much. It's really interesting for me, actually. I learned something there, so I really do appreciate it. And as I put in the chat, there is a chance for people to watch this back. You will get a recording to go through some of those exercises. So if anyone does have any questions, you can either put them in the chat, I'll ask them, or you can sort of raise your hand, and I'll get round to ask those. Jason's gym is brilliant, and some of the images there were of fit young men, but it's full of all ages in that gym and really all ability. So I can't recommend it highly enough for anybody really. So the first question I've got here, cortisol, fact or fad? I'd need context on that. Do you have any?
Yeah.
Do you want some context on that, Jason?
I'd like a little, yeah, in regards to what really?
Yeah, okay, a bit more context on that. Does anyone else have any questions that they'd like to ask Jason? If you wave your hand, I can see you, or let's go to gallery. Is anyone waving? Joan's waving a hand. Joan, uh, try and you can unmute yourself and ask a question, Joan, if you want.
We need an unmute, don't we?
Where's Joan gone? Oh, she disappeared. While we're
Disappeared, gone.
waiting for Joan, there's one in the chat that says, uh, do you cover health conditions in your training? So I assume you have different people with different health conditions that you'll
Yeah,
work
yeah, we
with.
cover everything. Yeah, we cover everything. We've got trainers qualified in that. They mainly come through me anyway. I'll kind of have the more specialist stuff with that. So yeah, we can do that.
Good. Uh, is cortisol really an issue for obesity, or is it a fad to get us to spend money?
Cortisol. Well, cortisol are we on about a cortisone injection? Do we mean, or do we mean a cortisol, or do we mean cortisol? Because obviously cortisol is a stress hormone
Yeah.
in the body. So that obviously causes, down regulation of things like your thyroid. It can affect obviously adrenal release and things like that. If we're talking about is cortisol a fad, obviously, then we want to be looking after ourselves with regards to things like sleep habits, with regards to correct nutrition and healthy exercise, because that lowers the stress hormone.
Mm-hmm.
Things like daylight. If we're on about a cortisone, if that was the mix up on the for the injection with regards to helping joints and things, then that is something that if it's generally required, then I would personally always encourage a client to go and get, because it allows them the freedom of movement. It reduces the inflammation around the joint, and it means usually you've got a little bit of time to train those muscles that maybe you weren't able to, and hopefully put a little bit of strength and protection around those muscles. That joint if that's required. So hopefully that answers whichever one it was meant to mean.
Good. Someone's just asking, or there's more of a comment. Do you offer nutritional programs, or do we have to attend the gym as well?
No, we do nutrition as a bespoke service.
Jason
So
does my nutrition. I try and keep to it.
He eats too much chocolate, but so for the results he wants. But anyway, we won't get into that one. Yeah, we do nutrition's bespoke, so we can do it for each individual. We just need to know a few facts and details and stuff, and then we can help you kind of achieve that. So you don't have to attend our gym for that. We do do that as a service to external clients as well.
And Jason does do a good program every now and then for sorry, my daughter's just screaming. It's a bit distracting. Um, you do like transformation programs as well, don't you? For people who aren't necessarily members of the gym, but they can come in and go through a program to change their body composition.
We do a 10-week all-inclusive package, which gives you access to the gym. It gives you bespoke nutrition. It gives you daily support, weekly check-ins, 11 personal training sessions. So we guide you through a transformation. It doesn't necessarily have to be a physical aesthetical transformation. It might just be us getting your body moving and a bit more healthy. That's still a goal. I think that's what a lot of people sometimes even lose sight of, because what you've got to remember is that there are some people in there that some people that you'll see have fantastic results, but whether or not they're healthy or not is another debatable matter if it's not been done properly.
True. Should stretches be done at any particular time, for instance, before, during, or after weight training?
I would tend to do if it's injury based, then potentially at the start of a session. The negative to stretching is it can lead to a loss in power in the muscle. It can lead to also opening yourself out to injury, because you are kind of like opening yourself into a range that you're normally not in. And obviously if you go by the bog standard stuff, then stretch before, stretch afterwards. So stretching afterwards is probably a better idea. I would just tend to recommend people find 2 separate points in the day and to perform the stretches and mobility work away from training, because the reality is you stretch around weight training and you shorten the muscle straight away anyway. So you're actually losing the benefit of it. and you're better off working posturally correct and being shown how to move properly, and how to activate muscles. Obviously, you'll have got that from when we've done stuff. But when you're moving in the right way and you're working the muscles in the correct way, you are working the joints in an open and way anyway. So you don't really necessarily need to do stretching beforehand. And mobility, I would recommend it more to be, either in the morning or in the evening. It's a better thing to do. That's when I would personally do it.
Good. And just Joan's back in. I just asked you to unmute. Joan, do you want to unmute yourself and ask that question?
There.
There you are.
That's it?
Yep.
Yeah. Increasingly with age, I've developed a curvature of my upper spine, my upper back. I know I can't straighten it out. It's too late for that, but I'm more interested in preventing it getting any worse. Are there any exercises that can particularly strengthen that area?
We'd have to. I'd have to. For me to be able to judge that properly and safely, I'd have to have a little look at how you move as an individual, and kind of like give you some recommended paths to do. Because if I just gave you something to do now without looking at how you move and how you are, then that could lead to further injury. But yeah, there are things that you can do to help protect that area and help to strengthen that area to reduce the impact. Most definitely, there will be. Yeah, 100%.
I have a lower back problem as well. Tom will explain it better than I can. I've got a herniated disc. I've recently had hospital procedure on very recently. So I have to be very, very careful about what I do, what I can do, because I don't want to make that any worse.
No, you obviously need a bit of recovery time. Obviously, you have to go through kind of like with me, probably outside of this, what your procedure was and stuff, and then we can have a look at what can be done. But yeah, there's always something that can be done. It doesn't necessarily even involve any weights. It can just involve movement patterns and things that will help assist you with that, or even using like things like you can use like small resistance bands, which will help. And again, just getting you strengthened up in certain areas is bound to help. Yeah, of course it is.
Okay, thank you.
I think one of the time, quite often, with personal training and exercises, is there's so much of it out there that it seems so easy just to go and get something and do it, when quite often we need a little bit of help and guidance with that. So I would definitely go back through these videos and really work hard on them. But everybody's got their own differences with their spine makeups, with their postural makeups, where they carry tension. That is always very useful to have an expert look in on that. So I would encourage any of you who are thinking about it just to contact Jason, and obviously we'll send over details afterwards. Any other questions before we finish up? Anyone want to wave or just put another question in the chat? And just looking to see if anyone's waving.
It's obviously been presented so well that there were just no questions, Tom.
This is exactly right, Jason. I once gave a talk in Spain and asked if anyone had any questions, and then realised that the translator hadn't actually turned up, so there was no questions because no one understood what I said. Brilliant. Well, that's been very helpful. If you think it's been very helpful, can you please type thank you in the chat or give a thumbs up to Jason, because I thought it was brilliant. Some simple stuff to work on, but take it away and do it for yourself. Perfect. Lovely. Well, Jason, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
No worries.
And everyone will get a recording of this soon. And if you do want to follow up with Jason, his details will be included in that recording. So I wish you all good night. Jason, thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Take care. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.